Hello and welcome back to the Week in Review with me, Jacob's Toys, and of course the wonderful Super Sorrel. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe if you're enjoying. We're aiming to get this out once a week, which is obviously great for us and great for you. And hopefully next week we'll have a special guest, but we'll see where we go with that. So, Super Sorrel, let's dive straight in with Marvel Legends.
Yes.
A bit quiet on the figure front this week.
It was a quiet week from Hasbro, really. They don't normally have quiet weeks, but they did release quite a lot the week before. We had a lot of announcements. This week was, I think, Transformers' turn, wasn't it? It was Transformer Tuesday.
That's it. It was a lot of Transformer stuff.
Yeah, which I'm not really that into, so I've got nothing on that. But
No.
Marvel Legends, they gave us the brand new, if you've been watching Loki, if you haven't, sorry, spoilers, maybe jump ahead. But yeah, Sylvie from Marvel Legends. I'm looking forward to seeing that figure as well. She looks awesome.
I am as well. I mean, I'm not surprised that they did her as a figure. I was surprised it kind of came out of nowhere, though. They didn't really do a big build-up, did they? Just similar to the Mobius one before. It just appeared, and then everyone was talking about it.
This is the only. Then they must be really doing something with this program, because this is the only one of the projects that they've released the secondary line of characters for. Like, obviously, we got the Winter Soldier, we got Falcon, Captain America, and we got US Agent, but we didn't get any second string characters. Whereas this time we seem to be getting like the other characters from the program, not just Loki.
I mean, they did the exclusive version of John Walker, didn't they? But then that was obviously, they tied in the packaging with that of the show as well. So it kind of made sense as to why they had this as an exclusive one. But yeah, like you say, and it's really bizarre because WandaVision got so much interest, and there were so many characters in that, from the kind of fake Quicksilver to obviously Agatha, that everyone was dying for a figure of. And they literally, yeah, exactly. My fingers are still crossed she's coming. And you had Wanda and Vision, and that was it. Not even an alternative costume or anything. Just literally, I know they were great figures. Don't get me wrong, they're fantastic figures. But yeah, it is. It's bizarre that they're really pushing hard on this particular show. I mean, as a figure, obviously it's the sort of pre-release art, isn't it? It's the product shots, and if Marvel Legends have taught me anything, it's kind of never to completely judge a book by that cover. They always look a little bit different when they kind of get them in hand.
I think for that one that they've shown off, it almost looks like it shares Wanda's face, and they've sort of edited it a little bit. It does look like Wanda.
It does, actually. And interestingly enough, there's a lot of comments about the cape, because obviously the cape's hard. It's not soft goods, and it's molded into that particular shape. So in regards to posing and articulation, it's quite limited. But yeah, I'm definitely going to grab one. There's I think any kind of, fan of the show or fan of Marvel Legends, it's on their shopping list. So, but they didn't release any details. They just said coming later this year. So obviously keep your eyes open for that one. Black Series, again, very quiet week. Nothing really on the Black Series front.
Yeah, Black Series went very quiet this week. Nothing at all. I'm not sure if you had any pre-orders in, but my pre-order for the 50th Lucasfilm anniversary Luke came in this week. Okay. Nice. So I've managed to get that. Other than that, though, it's been quiet on the pre-order front. Yeah, really quiet week.
So yes, that's really it regarding what figures came out. But we're going to circle around a little bit later and talk about some figures that we're hoping to see towards the end of the segment. But before we do, Bad Batch was obviously on Disney Plus, and one of my all-time favorite Star Wars characters, Cad Bane, made a comeback across the 2 episodes. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the two episodes that featured him.
Yeah, you can tell that Dave Filoni is having fun bringing these characters back, weaving them with the new. Because he's definitely had his way of being able to finish this story off properly. Because now we've got Cad Bane's return. I've got a feeling we're going to see the young Boba Fett again that we saw in Clone Wars, just a little bit older now.
I've got a feeling
he's going to pop up. I think he's with is it called Aura Singh? What's she called? The big orange. Well, she had orange and things on, didn't she? I've got a feeling we might see her again because obviously she was looking after him. So it would be good. Obviously, she's a bounty hunter. So
of course. Of course, it's very bounty hunter focused, isn't it? And they made a real point of, the bounty went out and all these bounty hunters were picking up on it. So, I mean, I've got a feeling that Boba, because obviously he had his little team, didn't he, when we last saw him? So I've got a feeling that he might pick up the bounty as well and end up going after her, and then we somehow weave the two.
Yeah, it would be cool
together.
to see him as well. Maybe seeing him with the modified armor, or the armor slowly going green now, or because obviously it would have been his father's armor. It would have been Django's blue. I'm guessing that he's changed the color of. So that's going to be cool to see how if they're going to do anything on that. Are we going to see him sort of like changing it to the green armor? We know Boba Fett 4, and then he's going to put that on and chase down his sister and stuff.
That would be really cool.
His first bounty, his own sister. That'd be mental.
That would be insane. I love the way that they kind of dropped that as well. That essentially she is his sister. I think you said something like this. It was either on
I said that. On the segment, beforehand. I said. Yeah, it was last week. I sort of said that I think she would be an unmodified clone, just because they gave her the same accent. They gave her the New Zealand accent that all the actors have.
Yeah.
So it made sense that she was related to them in some way or another, definitely based on their DNA. So, yeah.
I'm really liking the story as well, and I can't remember the name of the alien race, but the ones that develop the clones with the long necks and the little heads.
Cloners.
The cloners there. They've got a name though, haven't they? I can't remember what it is, but that group, I really like that there's kind of conflict between those as well about what to do and who's to go where and stuff. And obviously they brought back Fennec as well, who's very quickly becoming a massive, crowd favorite.
She's also the only person, the actress that plays her.
Yes.
The only person. I can never remember her name, but she's the only actress that has been both in a Disney movie, a Star Wars movie, and a Marvel movie. She's basically been in all three of the main franchises.
She's the only one that's done the hat trick now, isn't she? So
she's the only one so far.
But I love the character, and I love.
Shani's brilliant.
I did like it when we saw her kind of quite young in the respect of compared to the version we saw in The Mandalorian, and seeing that kind of maturity kind of develop throughout the animated show. So I am pleased to see her back, and I think that we're definitely. I don't think it's the last that we've seen of her. I think we'll see her again. She's definitely, because they've obviously announced her as a Black Series figure as well, coming down the line as a prime reveal. So I think there's more to her. I think there's definitely more story to come from her. And as you've pointed out in the past, we've got Book of Boba Fett coming out as well. So she's in there. She's in there. And I particularly like that she is a new character, but she's weaved so much into the history of Star Wars now that you almost forget that we only really saw her recently, like at the beginning, a couple of years ago, wasn't it? So, and we've got Mando season 3 as well, haven't we? That's going to be coming out at some point, so there's a possibility she'll be in there as well. So, but yeah, it was nice to see her, and I liked seeing the whole, duel between Cad Bane and her. Cad Bane's he's my guy. I really, there's something about him that's just, that old westerny kind of, it just ticks.
As soon as I heard his voice again, I was like, oh my God, he's back. I love that voice.
It's the hat, the toothpick, the trench coat, everything about him, just down to how he kind of holds his guns and stuff. So seeing her and him kind of go off. And what was interesting as well is that, did you notice in that episode that they were so focused on each other, everything else going around them, it was, they were so focused on each other, it made it really enjoyable to watch. So I'm really excited to see what happens in the next episode, because obviously Omega's now back with the Bad Batch. So
yes,
we'll see where we go with that.
What do you think of? I was saying, what do you think of the people online that are comparing Dengar to Crosshair the way he looks now?
It's an interesting one.
Could that be his character development for the future? Does he come in with a bounty in his own right? And
it is an interesting one. I did read that actually, and I thought the only problem is that Crosshair has so much story now. Yeah. It would need to get to a point where, because it kind of gets that where Dengar is he's a secondary character, isn't he? He's a background character. So something would have to happen where you wouldn't watch it in kind of timeline order and then go, well, come on, you've got to do something, you know, like what? So I like it. I love it as a theory. It would be great to see if that's what they were doing, but you know, even just to please the fans, to just kind of go like, there's a tick there, and this is who this is going to be. But I think they got big plans for Crosshair. I don't think he's going to go back. I don't think he's going to rejoin them. I think he is well and truly over that line, and you know,
I think he's going to be the one of the first troopers to develop the Death Trooper, because obviously with the Death Troopers come out later on, they're like the elite stormtroopers that look after the bigger higher ranks. I wonder if he's going to become the first one of them, because he's already got the black arm with the green visor, and he's already got the look of one.
Of course, and I think that's probably more. If I was to put money on it, I think that's probably where their story is going to go. Definitely. So that he almost puts the helmet on and he could essentially be anyone, and then the fans would be like, "Oh, well, that's definitely him," and we'll get all theories about, "Oh, that Death Trooper 4, that's Crosshair because he moves a certain way or something." So, while we talk about Bad Batch, I've got to kind of give a mini shout out to CB Prince, because I got a set of animated Clone Wars heads for the Black Series figures. So they're unpainted. So I'm painting them at the moment, but they were cast to look more like the animated characters. So obviously you can do a head swap and kind of get that, because obviously the Black Series go for more realistic look, don't they?
That was the one gripe I had with those figures, the fact that didn't quite capture the look of Hunter and things for me.
No, they're very much made in the respect of, if this animated character was
live action,
this is what they would look like. And you know, it's enough that, you know, they look good enough to put on the shelf. But yeah, I had to get a set of these heads, so I got sent them from CB Prints, and I'm currently painting them. So I might do a head swap, might not, but it's nice to have the option. So yeah, I mean, that's about it for Bad Batch. Any real theories about where it's going, or just along for the ride as we?
I think it's along for the ride. It's a full long series. We've got a good 10 more episodes to go yet. And I don't think this is going to be the last we'll see of it. I definitely think Filoni's definitely enjoying doing this. You can tell from the writing and stuff. So I don't think it's going to end anytime soon. I think there might even be a season 2.
Yeah, that is definitely possible, isn't it? So on to obviously the other big show on Disney Plus, which of course is Loki. Really good episode this week, I thought. Really,
yeah, I really enjoyed that episode. It was action packed from start to finish, and some of the philosophical little things I kind of liked, even though they didn't really make any sense. It was still fun. Logan about the dagger. Love is a dagger. I
thought that whole kind of monologue was fantastic, and then almost a throwaway at the end as well. You know, I think what's interesting as well is obviously we saw him and Sylvie. I can't remember the name of the planet now, but the place that they are. There was screenshots of that before the series aired, and people were theorizing that was him and Black Widow, you know, and he had somehow crossed paths with her. So obviously that squashed that theory, because we now know that that's him and Sylvie. There was a theory as well that I heard that this whole episode was actually taking place in Loki's head, because what she talks about when she uses her spell and how she has to touch somebody and then kind of, you know, feeds into their imagination and stuff. And obviously she does touch him at some point, and he says, you know, what is it you're doing? And there was this whole talking point of, you know, how she's enchanted him, as she does with the other characters, in order to achieve something. And so what we've watched is actually what he's seeing,
imagining.
Yeah, similar to what we saw with the TVA agent at the beginning when she was having the cocktails and stuff. Interesting enough, though, I thought of something probably about 30 minutes before we called in. I wonder whether this might be everything, it might be nothing, but I wonder whether they're actually setting up for Sylvie to become the new MCU Loki altogether. And Tom Hiddleston's character will obviously go away, because obviously they're replacing a lot of the characters, aren't they? And they, you know, we've got obviously Jane Foster's Thor and stuff coming out, and we've got all the new characters like Miss Marvel and stuff coming out. And I've been watching it so far, just sort of enjoying the ride of Loki. And then I kind of thought to myself, what if this is the transition that we're going to see? Because naturally, I mean, he's been playing a part for what, 10 plus years now. You know, so I think that's definitely a possibility.
It definitely is, with the fact that Yeah, I mean, with the fact that Loki is a shapeshifter, it would make it easy, almost the Doctor Who effect, that it could just change different actors at any point. It would, even if the actors dropped out of the program, they could write it to make sense with Loki's shapeshifting abilities.
It's Doctor Who, isn't it? It's essentially Doctor Who. It's which I always thought was a really, really clever. I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan, but I've dabbled, should we say. I've gone in and I understand the narrative and stuff. But I just think it's such a clever writing technique that they've basically said, here's a character that basically can look like anyone and behave however they want.
Yeah.
And that's, like you say, that's essentially Loki, isn't it? So I'd be quite happy.
I was going to say, it's funny you should mention Jane Foster's Thor and things like that, and replacing characters. I've got a feeling, I think everyone's setting up for the fact that she's going to be the female Thor and all that, but I've got a feeling that she's only going to be it for a short period of time. I think she's going to be a Valkyrie full time. I think, because doesn't she take on the Valkyrie thing later on in the comics? Yeah,
to be honest, with the comic books, they all do something at some point, don't they?
So I'm wondering whether we're going to leave, like in the book, in the thing, she'll be able to pick up the hammer as well as Thor, and whenever she picks up the hammer, she gets the power of Thor and turns into that female Thor character. And then when he picks it back, like he'll then just be like depower almost. I think that'd be quite funny for Chris Hemsworth to play off with his comedic abilities. I've lost my power, and he's just Odinson. And then all of a sudden he picks up the hammer and gets his powers back. Like, get off my hammer! And you can just imagine those two doing that kind of back and forth with the hammer, each getting abilities every time they pick it up.
That would be a lot of fun to watch. There was actually like a leaked photo. I don't know if you saw it of like production T-shirts or something that showed the big three in Thor, Love and Thunder, and obviously it was her and her kind of get up, and it looks comic book accurate. But she's holding Mjolnir and he's holding Stormbreaker, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, I'd be happy for Sylvie to kind of be our new Loki. I think that even in the short time we've seen her, she's, it's not kind of one for one. It's a different version of what we've had, sort of thing. So
sorry, my brain's just gone. Hang on a sec. Didn't Captain America take Mjolnir back into the past?
Yeah.
So that must mean for her to have Mjolnir, they must go back and get it. It must reappear somewhere down the line for her to have it and him to have Stormbreaker.
Either that or that storyline goes from where Dark World finished, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because she was there, wasn't she? That's how they got the thing. So I don't know. I've not thought too much into that one. But it's definitely not going to be a case of her just popping up, because he's off with the Guardians, isn't he? He's off somewhere else. So I wonder where this on the timeline's gonna, and I think that's the really interesting thing about the MCU at the moment, is that you've got all of these films kind of coming out and due to come out, and you don't know where they're going to fit. Like Black Widow, for example, we know is back in the past now,
but I've got a feeling Black Widow's going to show us something to do with the Super Soldier program. There's got to be there's a reason why they've not released it on Disney Plus just quickly for us just to see it over lockdown and get something in. They've left it to go to the cinema for some reason. There's a character reveal or something in there.
100% with you on that one, because obviously they what was it, May last year it was supposed to come out, and so we're a full kind of 12-13 months on now, so there has to be something big. It's not just kind of Black Widow swan song and let's say goodbye to the character. 100% with you on it. There's definitely something more. So yeah, I'm really excited for it. Really, really excited. While we're on the subject of MCU, I suppose there was obviously a big trailer as well, and a big talking point of a particular trailer, wasn't there? Did you catch it?
Yeah, Abomination's back.
Yes. So there was lots of. I went mental as soon as I was like, right, get my pictures done and all sorts. So I was really excited about this. But then I think the nice talking point about it as well is that people are saying it was Wong that he's up against, because obviously you see somebody that's a similar stature and build and whatnot, and definitely looks like some kind of sorcerer, and they're projecting the thing as well. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes. But I think it was nice because obviously Abomination's already been announced, and Tim Roth's character coming in the She-Hulk series due out 2022 I think it is. So it's going to be a nice lead in. But I think I'm really excited about Shang-Chi. I think it looks like an amazing film.
Yes,
I loved all the old Bruce Lee films growing up. There was something quite magical about them. So seeing it, there's definitely, it's reminiscent of certain films I watched when I was younger. And there was a lot of kind of, the internet was a bit divided, wasn't it? Let's be honest about sort of whether it was going to be a good film or not, and whether it was, a Captain America or a Thor or something. And I think just teasing Abomination and potentially kind of Sorcerer Supremes and stuff. I think it's going to own its place in the MCU.
Yeah, the fact that the real Mandarin's going to be in this as well. The real Mandarin, not the weird one we got before. The
fake one.
Yeah. And of course, the Mandarin has the rings. Yeah. And I'm wondering whether, just like we had the 10-year build-up with the Infinity Stones, are they going to try something similar with the 10 rings of power?
That's true. I mean, I remember when I read the comic books, and I thought how because obviously in the comic they are actually rings, aren't they? Yeah. Whereas in the film they've made them more of the forearm ones, yeah. And I remember at the time just sort of thinking, is this kind of a rip-off of the Infinity Stones? And it's very similar, and it's comic books kind of recycling ideas because each ring did something different and had a different power and stuff. So yeah, I wonder whether the films are going to kind of follow that suit, like you say.
Like Doctor Strange, obviously he doesn't have the actual bands, but when he does his thing, he actually has the green ones go around his arm.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
the bands. I wonder if that's something to do with it. Like he's the timekeeper sort of band. And then you're going to have Shang-Chi is going to be power or something, or might, or what I mean. He could definitely do something with that and have maybe the Mandarin as like the mind sort of stone kind of one that controls things, and they could really go to town with it.
No, definitely. But yeah, it's another film, and they've already said that it's not going to go to Disney Plus like Black Widow is. It's just solely at the cinema. So again, I'm interested to see where it goes. And
there's a question: Are you going to the cinema for Black Widow, or are you watching it at home?
Yes, yeah. Well, we said last week, didn't we, briefly at the end? But I'm definitely going to go cinema. I can't not. It would be the only MCU film I've not seen in the cinema. So exactly. I think there's so many of us that we won't want to break that cycle. It's, we've spent 10 years doing it. We don't want to break that cycle. Another thing as well is that with Abomination being in it, and now obviously we've got US Agent from Falcon and Winter Soldier. People were talking about whether there's a Dark Avengers kind of bubbling at the bottom, and almost in that post-credit scene for different things, you'll have, the Dark Avengers kind of coming together, and therefore that's how you get a new Avengers. So there's lots of theories banging around, but I'm excited because it seems like after a year or so of kind of nothing, there's so many theories and thoughts and stuff bouncing around. So I'm excited. But yeah, I think that's it for television and films this week. It seemed like a relatively quiet week.
I think they're definitely saving up because obviously we're coming up to a time when it would have been San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes.
So I'm wondering whether we might see like another HasCon or like another big event by somebody. Because obviously we just had the Lego Con. So I wonder if Hasbro will do something similar this summer again, maybe July, August time, and that's why they've gone quiet on us.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, for somebody UK based, I mean, I missed going to the conventions and stuff over here, but I really enjoyed the online element of it last year because I was able to really be involved, and it felt like I was a lot more involved with it than I have been previously. So I do hope that there's something, but who knows? I think they're definitely building up to something, without a doubt. But based on that, I think that brings us in nicely to the idea of what we'd like to see. So, you set out the challenge of 10 figures that we'd like to see remade. So I've done my list. You've done your list. So just to be specific, these are figures that we would like to see remade. So they're already out there, but we think that they need an update or a reissue or an alternative version, if you like.
Yeah,
is that correct?
Yeah,
good stuff. Do you want to go first or second? I don't mind.
I'll go first. So my number one that I've wanted for so long, I've mentioned it so many of my videos. I would love a first appearance of Blade. So that green jacket, the little afro, the big goggles, with stake in hand, ready to go hunt Dracula. Because let's not forget, he came from a Dracula comic. He was in the Tomb of Dracula number 3 or 2.
Something like that,
very early on. So, I mean, I would love to see him in that outfit.
Yeah. I think with the retro line that they're doing at the moment, I think they've got the perfect setup to give us one. And even where we had the retro War Machine, and he had the unmasked head as well, and so many people were using that for a Blade custom. So I think that there's definite possibilities. That would be amazing. That really would be amazing. All right, well, sort of to balance that out, then I'll also go Blade. But the Blade I would like to see would be a remake of the movie Blade, the Wesley Snipes Blade, because obviously I'm checking my notes here because I've got it all down. But we had him in 2003. So it was Toy Biz, Series 5, 2003. And we had him and he came with a bike and everything like that. And I just think that the same as they did for the Fox movies and they kind of gave us certain characters, I think Blade is such almost for a lot of people forgotten film franchise that really started off the Marvel stuff. I mean, I remember watching it, the whole trilogy actually, and just sort of thinking, this is really cool. This is the comic books that I'm reading, and here's a character. And I think he had such a cool look that he would be a really cool character to go with my MCU shelf, if you like. I'd shoehorn him in there. So
yeah, I would love to see him if they did go and do it again. I think they should definitely do another Riders one, just like the modern stuff. Because obviously they've already got the kind of bike from the Punisher, that black bike. They could just reuse that technically.
Yeah.
And give him a boatload of accessories. It would be brilliant. All the different guns, knives, swords.
That's it. Or even the Black Widow bike and go for the more sporty kind of motorcycle, the sports bike. But yeah, I think it would be a great rider. But yeah, that's definitely a figure. So some sort of Blade. We're both saying Blade. I think. Why don't give us them both?
Yeah, I'm really excited because I do have Blade on here twice. Because if they don't do the first appearance Blade, then obviously keeping up with the current Spider-Man card back releases, that are kind of based on the cartoons and early figures we've had. Would you like to see the Blade from the cartoons with the the short leather jacket with the spikes and the?
There's in the animated. Is this your number
Blade.
2 or is this?
This is my number 2. Yeah, this is my number 2.
Oh, okay.
I've included
So we've
the
got
second
3 Blades.
Yeah, and there's Liz.
I would actually, only because the animated Spider-Man, same as the animated X-Men show, was. I even watch them now. They're things that I watch on my own. I watch them with my kids. But at the time that they came out, they were a visual like a moving version of what I was reading, which was great. So they could give me any of the characters out of either of those shows and I'd buy them in a heartbeat. But I think Morbius and Blade, from that whole, the plasma hands and everything, and the 100% I'd buy that in a second without even thinking. Yeah, definitely 100%. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go right back to the beginning. So right back in the Toy Biz, the very first series, it's something that everyone calls out for, and that's obviously a Toad
Yeah, I've got Toad on mine as number 3.
It's got to be done, really. I think that we're going to get it. I think we're seeing enough, with like the Frogman and the Dr. Octopus, we can see that the mold is there. And it's just one that's not been touched, but it's such a kind of an iconic character. He was in all the Fox films, wasn't he? He was in a handful of those. I'd just like to see a Toad. I know there's a lot of customs out there that people do. Some really awesome customs, actually, that I've seen. Head casts and all sorts. But Toad is definitely...
He's the one that's missing from the Brotherhood right now. On my shelf, Toad is the one that's missing.
Yeah, and they've done, having done Pyro in that Rogue 2-pack, and that was just so comic book stroke TV show accurate that we need a Toad there. I'm not sure if I'd want a big bloated version or the kind of, because he kind of looked different depending when you read it. I think I'd quite like to see him almost on a like the Wild Child figure we got, the skinny kind of
smaller. Yeah, definitely.
I think I'd quite like to see him on that, just because then in comparison to those like Magneto and Juggernaut and stuff like that, I think he would look quite cool as opposed to the big bloated version.
I think I'd want 2 heads as well. One with the because he used to do that big Joker style grin in the comics. Yeah. I'd want the sort of like sort of big scrunched up face one, but I'd also want one with the tongue doing something.
No, 100%.
Animated tongue with green slime on it.
That'd be amazing. But yeah, Toad is definitely there. And I think as well, correct me if I'm wrong, But I think that all of the characters from that very first series have been remade or reissued in some way, shape, or form, except for Toad. I think that he's the only one that's not been kind of re-released under the Hasbro umbrella. So yeah, he's due a reissue. Will we see him this year, next year? Who knows? All right. So if that was your number 3, I'll go on to my number 3 then.
Yeah.
I'm going to say. I'm not sure whether he would fall under Avengers or the Thor movies, but we had that kind of Thor line, didn't we, that came out before Legends were really kind of Legends, if that makes sense, or they were alongside, weren't they? But it wasn't all underneath one thing. And I have both versions. I've got the helmeted version and the unhelmeted version, but I'd really like to have an updated kind of original Thor from the MCU. I think he's missing from a lot of MCU kind of collections, and it's okay if you kind of cross the streams a little bit, like many of us do. But I don't know. I look at him and I'm like, you know what? Especially with the Infinity Saga line that they're doing and they're kind of revisiting, just to have that original Thor, I think they could make it a really nice figure.
I was surprised the original Thor never came out with the 10-year anniversary sets. To be honest, I'm really surprised they never did one.
Yeah, I think that there was. There's obviously a lot of Iron Man and stuff like that they churn out. But the problem with Iron Man is that he's got so many looks that you can do. I've not been disappointed by any of the ones that they've announced, but I've definitely looked and kind of gone, instead of that one, I wish we had got this or something like that. So Thor's definitely on my list as number 3. Because again, I think he's as well the only one that kind of predates all of the figures now that I've got, and he sits fine. He looks absolutely fine. But yeah, there was a helmeted version and unhelmeted version, and I chased the helmeted version for months and months and months and months. I finally got him, and he looks great. But the face, it doesn't look like Chris Hemsworth. It just looks like Thor. So yeah, so he's my number 3.
For me next, it's back in the Toy Biz days, we had the Monsters 4-pack. They included the Wolfman, or the Werewolf by Night, Zombie, and it also included Frankenstein and Dracula. Now, all of those figures except Dracula are still decent by today's standards. The Dracula one was diabolically bad. Awful. I'm saying we should get a classic modern or even a modern Dracula, because I'm surprised he's not been redone. Yeah, especially because he's been reappearing in late in sort of recent comics. He's been back, hasn't he? It was part of the big, what do you call it? I forgot the name of that saga now. But yeah, he was in it recently, wasn't he? When they did the big crossover event.
I'm trying to think, but I know it's about him.
He sort of had a new Monster Squad and stuff going on with the Baby Man thing and all that. But yeah, I'm surprised Dracula hasn't had a re-release in all these years. We've still got just that one figure that Toy Biz did, and Hasbro have never redone him.
No.
He's a big player in the X-Men comics, really.
Yeah, I wonder whether they're trying to build more of a profile of him in the more modern comics before throwing out a figure, because, for anybody that doesn't necessarily know his history in Marvel Comics, a random kind of Dracula figure might send question marks.
Well, but he appeared. They did a thing. I'm not sure if you watched it. On Disney Plus, you can see it. It's called Monsters Unleashed, and basically it's Marvel's Monsters Unleashed with Man-Thing, and there's Dracula in it, werewolf, and it's a part of that Avengers TV show they did. So technically, some kids that would be aware of who that is.
Would know he's there. And are you talking
like Marvel,
the proper old school looking Dracula, like almost exactly how he looked before, but just modernized, or
a modern articulated version would be awesome.
Yeah, no,
I'm not sure whether it's a licensing rights, because like all the other ones, they get away with calling them like Werewolf by Night and Zombie by Light, they call them different names, whereas Dracula is just Dracula. I wonder whether it's an issue with Universal Monsters and there's licensing issues.
It's quite, but like you pointed out, last week, that they're obviously doing those under various different, under various different brands. So maybe they can't at the moment. So, okay, I could get behind on that. Okay, 2008 Spiral. Such a grail item for so many people. And the figure itself holds up quite well against today's standards. It's just so hard to come by. I had her back in the day, and sort of sold her off thinking that she was I'll get her back easy enough. And I've just not been able to. So I would love to see a reissue with perhaps better articulation or just better sculpting or something, just something that would make her more modern, not just a complete reissue. But yeah, she's definitely up there on my list of ones to do. Spiral's
a brilliant figure. I've still got mine. And I got really excited obviously when MODOK was coming out and stuff, and I got Spiral. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we've got Shatterstar and stuff that really bring together the Mojo universe a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I'd like to see her done.
Next for me, we're going to go MCU. And okay. I can't believe they haven't done this yet, especially with the popularity. Darcy and Jimmy Woo 2-pack.
Okay.
Obviously, Darcy's been in the MCU now for 10 years. She's been there just as long as everyone else, just not had as many appearances. Yeah. And obviously then Jimmy Woo as well is a very popular character from the TV series and from Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. Could they not have just given us two little characters? It would have been hard to do. It would have been a new face cast on the black suited body, wouldn't it, for Jimmy Woo?
Yeah.
It would have been Darcy that would have been the figure to build.
But there's enough figures out there that they could have probably tooled one together quite well. I heard somewhere as well that there's talks about Jimmy Woo becoming the new kind of Coulson and just kind of popping up here and there and stuff, which would be quite cool. But yeah, I think
even if they made their own TV series with Darcy and Jimmy Woo as some weird Mully and Sculder of the MCU universe, I'd go along with that for the ride. That'd be fun.
They did all that little kind of one shot kind of stories, didn't they? Way back when the MCU. So they could even do like a mini series like that, which would be, just a couple of little, not necessarily even stories that string each episode together, but they're just in relation to different shows or films or something with those two characters. That would be interesting.
I'm definitely hoping they bring Darcy back in the future because obviously she's like the forefront on Chaos Magic now. She's kind of the person that figured it out, how to sort of dissect Wanda's magic a little bit.
Yep.
So it'd be interesting to see where they go with her.
So essentially just a civilian figure retooled as those. That's a nice way of getting a new figure out of a reissue. I like that. Yeah. I like that, yeah. And they've used that suited body so many times, haven't they? Like literally time after time. And I think it's only really in the last, I want to say maybe year and a half where they've started giving us more civilian kind of outfits, like with the Stan Lee and the Peter Parker and obviously the new suited bodies that we're seeing on like Happy and stuff, which, as a bigger guy myself, I'm quite pleased that we're getting a Happy Hogan suited figure so that I can put my little head, my own cast on, but yeah, I could go for that. All right then, well, let's stay with the MCU. I would like a reissue of Heimdall from Thor. But obviously in his Asgardian armor. I was shocked a little bit that we got the character without getting that iconic look, but then obviously he tied so well into the movies at the time. So I was pleased that we got the version that we did. But I'd really like to get that gold. I think it's just such an awesome looking, like armor and stuff. And, and obviously we've had the sword and all the rest of it. It'd be easy enough for them to do, even maybe just as an exclusive or a one-off. It doesn't even have to be in a wave or in the Infinity Saga wave,
And again, do you know what the annoying problem might be with that? Obviously, it's Idris Elba, and he's now signed his likeness away to DC for Suicide Squad. So Marvel might not be able to produce any new figures.
Of course he has. Well, maybe they could get around it by
using the old sculpt and just
the old sculpt, because the old sculpt was actually very good. It wasn't that bad at all, and I think you could use that and shave back the hair and whatnot, get a helmet on it. So, yeah, that's very true. So, all right, so that's my number. What are we on? 5, I think. Yeah, just because it was one of the first, when I first got into like really customizing as well. It was one of the first kind of customs I threw together, and shocking in comparison to some of my customs now, but I was so proud of it at the time. And I was just like, I need this character in this outfit, and it was all chunky and everything, but I was well happy with it, well pleased. But yeah, it was one of the earlier customs I did as well, actually thinking about it. So an official one of those would be quite nice, and that would definitely tick a box for me.
Yeah, keeping, again, I'll stick with MCU for now. My other pack, which I was very surprised this never came out as an exclusive or anything, but Wanda and Vision in black and white. So two figures that are in solid black and white. They could have even made the box into an old style television set just to make it look even better. And obviously have the Vision where you can take his head off and put the Android version on. So he's got the humanoid head and the Android head.
That would be nice.
I thought that would have been a really cool, like, because the whole, when the show was first announced, everyone was like, oh, it's in black and white. And it would have been cool just to have something to remember that as from the series. I've Wanda in that classic sort of like 1950s sort of
the 50s kind of housewife looking kind of, I think, circling back to what we spoke about earlier, I think there's going to be a surge of Disney Plus figures that come out further down the line. And I think something like that, I think you might have called it now. I think we're definitely going to see, because there's so many, just everything from like online videos and animations and stuff that's when you talk about WandaVision, that's what a lot of people reference, isn't it? So and it'd be an awesome one as well. It'd be great for some figure photography, for displays. Like, it'd be amazing.
Plus we've never had a human Vision head yet. We've never had a Paul Bettany sort of sculpt properly. No. Only his Vision version. So it would be cool to get his humanoid head that we've now seen. With
the hat and glasses, or just as a
as the plain with the blonde hair, like you just like that in later episodes, just that'd be fine. Yeah. Then you could, if it was in color as well, then you could port that to your other figures and have him, as the civilian one from Infinity War.
That would be really cool, wouldn't it? That really would be cool. I could get behind that. But I think we will. I think we're going to see some. I don't think we're done on WandaVision figures. I think we're definitely going to see some more further down the line. All right, so kind of going back to Spiral and stuff. In regards to a builder figure or a deluxe figure, I'd like to see a new Mojo. The old version holds up. I've still got it on my shelf. It's there. But the same as MODOK, it's kind of, I replaced mine because it was actually, I prefer the newer version. I know some people were they're very good. They balance out quite well. But I'd like to see an updated Mojo. I think with what they can do nowadays, they could really make that character into something quite interesting and quite gruesome looking as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, the old one holds up, but they could definitely do a lot more nowadays with that, with a lot more accessories and things for him. That would be really cool.
And obviously, when he came out originally, it was all just build figures, whereas now we have so many deluxe figures and huge figures like the upcoming Sentinel. So I think that they could pretty much kind of just work on that and push him out as a standalone figure, and people would buy it up. But I'll definitely not see him down the line. I think we will. I think he's coming.
Definitely. A figure line that I think a lot of people have customized already out there, and there's already lots floating around that people have made. I'm surprised that Hasbro have never cashed in on it. The Savage Lands X-Men, so like the Savage Lands Rogue and stuff like that. I know it's a little bit more risque than probably what Hasbro would like to produce, but I think it definitely would sell.
It was I loved that as it was really 90s, wasn't it? It was so kind of I'd love to pick up that, because there was a Savage Lands set way back when. It was a exclusive, San Diego exclusive, wasn't it? But obviously didn't have any of the main X-Men characters. It was just the Savage Land characters. I remember hearing that there was a problem with Emma Frost at one point because they couldn't do her in the outfits that we all recognize because of it being too risque, and Hasbro, being a family-owned company and stuff. But I think there'd be ways around it. There would definitely be ways around it. But
I think over the years, Hasbro have stopped tooling the figures more towards kids and have definitely started going after the adult collectors full time now. Yeah. They've definitely gone away with the sort of like kids playing with Marvel Legends thing now.
Yeah, even if it was like you say, like an exclusive or something, or a box set. They gave us a Wolverine box set with threw everyone in that. They could give us a.
The reason I say it as well is because they've recently started doing that, like you say, the Deadpool, the Wolverine stuff. Have got the 14 certificate on them. If you look at the box, it's 14 plus. So they could get around it by saying it's adult collectible 14 plus to own this particular set.
Yeah, definitely. And I just think that even just having, it'd be an easy retool, wouldn't it? Because you've got a lot of the heads out there now. You wouldn't have to do a huge amount to the head sculpts. and even the bodies, the bodies are out there. It's just a case of colouring them different and, adding a little bit of sculpting here and there. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah. I always sort of say, if the customizers can do it, then the manufacturers can do it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's one that I actually started doing it myself. I started doing a Rogue and a Storm. And I just kind of not got bored with it, but I was kind of like, it's too big of a rabbit hole. If I do these two, I'm going to want to do more. And I'm going to, and I think it was around the time the What's It Bath came out. And, what's his name's totally gone? Sauron. The Sauron Bath came out, and I was kind of, I kind of want to put my Savage Lands and my dinosaurs, but they could do a really good box set and maybe throw a dinosaur in there because, you got like, is it Mattel that are doing the Jurassic World line at the moment?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've got any of those, but I've got one of the Raptors just because they're so hard to get over here. But I've got one of the Velociraptors, and it's fantastic. Like the detail on it and the articulation, so to see a Hasbro version of something like that to tie in with the Savage Lands would be insane.
I had to get the Dennis Nedry Amber collection. As soon as it aired, I was like, I'm having him.
Did you get the Dilophosaurus as well?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course I did. I had to get the two.
He had an interchangeable head, did he not? And
so he had the one with the spit-covered eyes.
Yeah, that's actually, look, he's here. Look, he's right next to me. Look, right next to me. But he's just, it's just such
awesome,
and I think where what boys are like, boys love dinosaurs, and my sons absolutely love dinosaurs. So I was like, well, I need a grown-up dinosaurs. you can't play with that one. That one's for me. But he's not going to stand back up there, is he? But I think the articulation that you can get on those figures, I think I'd love to see Hasbro attack that. And then obviously that ties in as well with the Runaways as well. They could do a whole Runaways set because of the Raptor in that as well. I forget the name of it, but yeah. Okay. So sticking with Mojo, naturally, we've not seen him since 2006. Longshot has to be done at some point.
Yeah, Longshot is in dire need of a remake.
He's one of them characters that, as you say, so many customizers done him. I've done a custom version of him. He just seems like such a simple one to do with all of the various different body sculpts that they've got out there and that we need to get him. But maybe they're holding back. Maybe we're going to get like Spiral, Longshot, Mojo, like get them all in kind of one big wave, which would be quite, a Mojo wave.
That would be cool.
But obviously he would need, they'd need to cast to do new hands because of the fingers and stuff. But it's a very little amount of new sculpting that they need for a character that so many people are calling out for. So he's definitely on my list as and a bit of an X-Men completionist. I would like to see him so I can slot him alongside my X-Men. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's my one with Longshot.
For me, next it would be. I know they've given us sort of. Warpath. He's one of the figures where they have given us Thunderbird and they have given us, his sort of old school appearance. But I'm still, I love the old X-Force 2-pack that they did with Deadpool when he's in the classic black and grey.
Yes.
That was my Grail figure. And it took me ages to track down.
Really?
But yeah, but somebody had randomly opened both sets and sold the blue Deadpool with the black and grey Warpath. So I was like, yeah, I'm having that set. I'll have that one, please. So I got best of both worlds. I got the blue Deadpool and the X-Force sort of attired Warpath.
Because obviously they released the Wolverine not too long ago as a part of a wave, didn't they?
They did.
And we've got the we've had the grey Deadpool as well in part of a wave. So Archangel, they've got the sculpt there. They could, they do him. I again painted. I got two Archangels at the time and painted one up so that he would fit in with my collection because I didn't get the box set when it came out. But they've got it all there. So
and they redid Psylocke recently in the grey with the thingy fig with the
yes, they did.
The big guy. I forgot his name.
Oh,
Power of
yes.
X guy.
Yeah.
They that's the one.
Nimrod. It was on the Timber Saga. I was like, come on.
But they gave us obviously the grey Psylocke in that box set, so we now have a modern grey, X-Force Psylocke, just missing that modern Warpath.
Yeah,
The old one still holds up, and he's a brilliant big sculpt. He's a brilliant figure, but it's those goddamn ball joints on the legs. I hate them.
Oh, I'm the same. I'm the same. Like I said, I think it was last week I said to you, or maybe in one of our other conversations, but that the MCU Hawkeye, it's one of the reasons why I love him as a figure, but I hate him at the same time, because there's two versions of him with glasses and not glasses, and he's got those ball joint, and they just stand out. And annoyingly, I didn't put him on my list, and I've just thought, so there's my bonus edition, MCU Hawkeye from the Avengers. All right, so Goliath. Toy Biz gave us a Goliath figure back in 2004. I would really like to see, with all the Ant-Man related stuff. I mean, there's so many Ant-Man characters I'd like to see, like original comic Yellow Jacket and stuff like that. But I think with the deluxe figures and the builder figures, to have a decent sized Goliath would be really cool to have on the shelf.
Definitely.
I think he would just, maybe even if you just made him kind of a similar size to the old like Galactus sized figure, to have him, so he's a bit bigger than a builder figure, but then not quite, the extreme of the upcoming Sentinel and stuff, but
a bit like the old Sentinel they did with the Wolverine.
Yeah. So what were they, about 10 inches tall?
Yeah, about 10 inches tall.
And I think they could do it quite easily, because they did do that. Was it the 12-inch figures they did for a while, didn't they? They released a handful of the 12-inch. So the kind of the machines are there to make those sized figures. So I'd really like to see a Goliath, or even a classic Ant-Man on that, a giant man, if you like, on that mold would be really cool.
A classic Goliath as well would go with his classic Avengers lineup as well.
Yeah, that would be really sweet, wouldn't it? But I think that they are churning out so many. When you look back to sort of even, 5-6 years ago, how many figures we're getting on a yearly basis that are announced or in the pipeline. So I'm really hoping that they do kind of go down that line and give it to us. I just hope they're not drip fed so much that it's a real difficulty to pick them all up. But yeah, Goliath would definitely be on my list as my number 8. I think that was. What's your 9?
Sticking with kind of deluxe kind of figures. I would love to see a remake of the Phoenix, just because the TIU exclusive one is so hard to get hold of now.
Have you got her?
Yeah, I luckily got her before Toys R Us closed down. But I did buy a second-hand off a dealer, but yeah, it was before TIU shut, so people were still kind of willing to give them, so I'll give them up.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see her as a part of the new deluxe style figures. So give her loads of accessories and give her different head sculpts. I know they gave us a fair amount last time, but I mean, like some more big flame pieces and flight stands, and they could really go to town on it now with the deluxe stuff. Oh, definitely, and we're slowly seeing that, aren't we? Like with the Iron Man with the blast effects, and you're getting the foot blast effects and stuff now. When it comes to reissues, I kind of sit on the fence, because I want everybody, all the collectors, to have it, because the joy it brings you to, I've got this figure, or I've completed this team, and I'm not one of those collectors that's kind of like, I've got all these and I don't want you to have them, sort of thing. So I like, same as Sandman, I'm so pleased that Sandman's been released, because so many people wanted him. But interestingly enough, I heard like the Hasbro guys say at one point that they would never do an exact like reproduction of something. There would always be something different. There'd always be something unique. So, to see her redone as a deluxe, she's not going to be the same as the Toys R Us 2-pack, but it would give so many collectors, so many people are calling out for her, and it's a relatively quick win, really, isn't it? It's same as that Rogue, retro Rogue that they did not too long ago. I'd really like to see her with, maybe a couple of alternative heads like we got in the Toys R Us. They're still using the same head, because obviously your She-Hulk at the side if you've got it. Yeah, no, she has, hasn't she? Yeah, that is the Phoenix head. Of course it is. Yeah. Of course it is. They're still getting their money's worth out of that mold. But yeah, I definitely. And one thing I really liked about her as well is like the slightly translucent hair that you got, and she's just a really cool figure to have. And I would love to see her. I would definitely get a deluxe version of that, because on the pages and stuff, you see quite often as well, people really spend time on building those Phoenix kind of dioramas or back pieces and stuff. So to see like an official one, to see what they could do with the machines that they've got would be really interesting. So yeah, would you have her as a standalone deluxe, or would you throw that Cyclops in as well again? No, I'd do a standalone deluxe. I think they could do a lot with it if she was on her own. I think we've had plenty of Cyclopses recently.
We got a lot.
We've got the jacketed version. We've got so many versions of Cyclops recently that I think she's been neglected for a little while again. I know we just had Marvel Girl, but I wasn't a big fan of that House of X wave. I've got to be honest.
I loved the book. It was one of the comic books that really pulled me in, but then I did put off reading it until I could get the whole thing in a graphic novel, and then just read the whole thing cover to cover and really got behind it. So I was happy to see that wave. I think there's more that they could do. I think there's more coming, to be fair. I think.
Yeah, not on my list right now, just as a bonus, but yeah, that young Cable. I would love to see that as a figure.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. Okay, so another one that I'd like to see, and we have loads of Spider-Man figures. They churn Spider-Man out all the time, but the classic white Future Foundation suit, obviously we had him a while back. I can't remember now, but it was quite a few years back. And it's a relatively easy one for customizers to do. But I think with the teased Fantastic Four waves come in, I think that, the Future Foundation suits are such an iconic look that they're one of the sort of, I'd argue, definitely in the top 5 kind of recognized looks of the Fantastic Four. So I'd like to see him maybe ahead of them, like the rest of the team, just sort of drop the Spider-Man in, same as they did with that Wolverine, the X-Force Wolverine, and just kind of drops out of nowhere just to kind of get that Future Foundation Spider-Man on perhaps maybe the new mold that we got in the retro Spider-Man with all the different articulation, because obviously they're jumping backwards and forwards with that one, aren't they? Because they released that, and then they released various other Spider-Man, but then on the older mold. So maybe if we got the Future Foundation on that mold, that would definitely tick my box, and I'd be very pleased. I'd buy that without even thinking, maybe even twice.
Yeah, that takes me to my sort of final one then. Sticking with Spider-Man as well, which is brilliant. Hobgoblin.
Okay, yeah.
Classic Hobgoblin. We have had one, but I still don't think they can. It was a good Hobgoblin, but I still don't think we've had a classic Hobgoblin.
No.
First appearance style Hobgoblin, you know what I mean? With the pumpkin bombs and...
Yeah,
they have given us the pumpkin bombs on other figures now as well, so that would be an easy thing to shove back in with him. But that we've already had the glider and things, so again, it would just be a figure remake.
Yeah,
all the accessories are already there.
Yeah, I think that's a definite win. I've got the Hobgoblin. Being a big Spider-Man fan, that was definitely one of my directions when I started collecting. I was kind of like, I needed to build up Spider-Man characters, and obviously we've had quite a few goblins now, haven't we? I think that Hobgoblin's one that people are definitely calling out for. And as back to the previous point about it not being an exact reprint and a re-release, playing around with it and giving us something, even edging towards an animated kind of look, that
I'd go for that
with the flat colors and stuff. I think it would tie in nicely with the retro wave, sit nicely next to that new retro Green Goblin. I could definitely get behind that. All right, then, so my last one, being a massive fan of Hawkeye, we got back in 2013, I think it was, you had like the purple suited Hawkeye. I think it came out in the comics around, it was the year 2010 kind of, I can't remember the exact comic line it fell into, but the classic kind of purple diagonal kind of suit, with the shades and whatnot. And I think he was very much what the MCU kind of based their look on. And obviously we've seen leaked pictures from the new Hawkeye series, and he's wearing that costume. So I'd like to see a comic book with a proper blonde hair and everything, like really classic comic book looking. And maybe with an updated bow. I'm a bit tired of the bows now. Like every time you get like an archer, it's got that same kind of static bow with it. So maybe like an updated bow or something, that I'd definitely buy that up in a heartbeat.
One with a proper string that you could actually pull and put the figures wrapped around the actual bow bit.
That would be interesting. Or even just an alternative, like we got in the Old Man Hawkeye and Logan 2-pack, and we got two versions, didn't we? We got the one that was drawn and the one that was sort of static. but yeah, I just like to see him. He's a figure that still holds up in today's kind of collections. If you've seen him or got him, but to have a nice new version of him, like squeaky clean version of him, would definitely please me.
Yeah, I think I've still got that old classic one on my shelf, actually, in my classic Avengers lineup. Yeah, I think he's still there.
I let it go years ago. I'm so annoyed. he's one that every now and again he pops up, but he goes very quickly when people put him up for sale. He's definitely one I need to either re-obtain or they need to re-release.
Are you in the Facebook group Marvel Legends Community UK?
Yes.
That's it. That is where I get all my grails from. That is literally where I find everything. Someone will always be selling something.
Yeah, there's always something up for sale there. 100%. So yeah, that's my 10. I mean, it's not in any particular order. If you had to pick one then off your list, that if the guys at Hasbro were going to pick one of your list and it was going to get put into production tomorrow, which one would it be?
For me and my collection, the way I'm going with it, I would definitely want that classic Dracula. Definitely. Yep. I've got a monster shelf, which I showed off on my reels on Instagram. I've got a monster shelf, and I would love a modernized Dracula to go in that coffin that I've got.
Yeah, that would look really good, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Especially now we've got Schickler as well. We've got Schickler as well now. So I mean, we need a modern Dracula to go with Schickler.
Yeah. Okay, no, fair enough. I think if I was going to go for it, I think I'd have to call Movie Blade as my if they were going to do one for me, it would be that Wesley Snipes Movie Blade. Mm-hmm. And even if they couldn't get around using his likeness, just the costume and the face and put enough of the glasses and the beard or so, there would be a way around it, but just something that you can look at and go, yeah, that's Movie Blade. I've
been wondering whether they're holding off with the whole vampire thing, ready for Morbius coming to the cinemas in 2022. It's now been pushed back till 2022. Yep. Are they going to give us a wave, maybe, of figures for that? Now that Sony and Disney are all friends, could we see a new Morbius, a Dracula, a Blade? Because Blade's coming, isn't he, in the MCU?
Blade's got his own film coming. Yeah, I don't remember the date, but obviously it's been cast, and so I wonder whether it's going to tie into the Morbius kind of thing. But I think we'll definitely get an MCU Blade when that film drops, or at least ahead of that film coming out. But I just like that Wesley Snipes kind of callback, So yeah, that would be my one. That would definitely be my one. So
just as a little quick throw in for you at the end.
Go on in.
We had the Stan Lee figure, which was iconic. And obviously, it's Stan.
Yeah.
I know not a lot of people know what the other people that have founded Marvel look like, but would we not like
JK? I knew that's where you're going. I see. Interestingly enough, I thought about this quite a lot, because whenever somebody posts a picture of their Stan Lee figure or something, obviously everyone always mentions Jack Kirby, but I would be behind a full wave of
creators.
I really would. But I think that's just because it wouldn't appeal to the everyday person, like, or the casual collector. But I think for people that have collections, I would definitely be behind a wave of collectors, and old and new. I'd love to see a Jack Kirby figure just to sit alongside my Stan Lee figure.
They could get away with it. So I said they could get away with it when doing it as a Comic-Con exclusive, because obviously that is where Comic-Con would be the place to sell that kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think just based off I was so pleased to get that Stan Lee figure, because it was teased, wasn't it, as part of it was like a builder figure at one point, and there was all legal battles and stuff. But yeah, I 100%. And I'm, not just saying it, I would buy a whole wave of collectors if they made it. If the right ones were included, I wouldn't, And obviously McFarlane's got his whole toy line, so he could just do a wave of himself. Do you know what I mean? It's like he could. But yeah, I would 100% buy the collectors. Just I think it'd be a really nice homage to the people that created what it is that you created. And imagine getting some of them signed, like going to Comic Cons and seeing certain artists and getting them to sign the box of their figure. It's
I've been saying for years. I would even like Black Series. I would happily have. The oh God, his name's gone out of me. God damn it now.
George Lucas.
Yes, God, yes. I would literally love that to have a Lucas.
Yeah.
Like just in the same sort of box they put like the Stanley in, just Star Wars it up, George Lucas figure. I would eat that shit up.
100%. I'm not an inbox collector. I get my figures, I open them up, I play with them, as in photography and posing. I let my kids have a play with them. They go on my shelves. And Stanley is the only figure that I bought two of to keep one in the box. And not for like monetary value or anything like that, because the actual price of the figure's dropped and you can actually pick it up various places quite discounted now. But just because there was something about taking it out of the box that I kind of totally understood where these inbox collectors come from, because I opened him up and I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like I wanted him on my shelf, and I got the little director's chair that he's in, the Diamond Select Kermit the Frog director's chair that everyone went mad for. So I got that, and Stanley's in there, and I printed him out a little Amazing Fantasy comic and everything. But then I had to pick up another one to just keep in the box, just as actually this is almost like not a shrine. That sounds really wrong, doesn't it? But like a homage
I know what you mean.
to him,
I've got him on my shelf. There's Mjolnir at one side of his chair and the shield at the other side of the chair.
Amazing.
And I've got Spider-Man crouched behind him.
Amazing. I did a few photos actually of him and Spider-Man, and I just picked him up and I was like, I just need to do something. But people really kicked off about his signature being across the chair as well, across the shield, because obviously depending on what characters he created, I just thought, just be pleased that we kind of live in this day and age where you can actually obtain the figure of this guy. Do you know what I mean? But I don't complain about much, so I was pleased when we got it. But in answer to your question, and I'm guessing you're the same, if we got Jack Kirby, I'd eat it up in a second. So
yeah, I pitched on one of my videos a while back. They could do it as like a Disney Legends lineup almost now, because they could include George Lucas, they could include Steven Spielberg, they could include Muppets. Names
Jim Henson
don't go together. Jim Henson,
there you go.
Jack King Kirby, a reissue of Stan. They could literally throw all of them together, a John Lasseter figure, a Walt Disney figure.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? It really would be.
I know it wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea, but it would be. I'd love that.
Yeah, it's. I think with the rise in popularity of so many things, I think there's definitely a market down the line, because they've been producing kind of Stan figures, if you like, for they had a San Diego Comic-Con one, didn't they? And then they had a larger one. They've had hot toy ones. They've put them out they did. You've had so many kind of stands. Oh yeah, Funko Pops have done about 12, haven't they? It's just various different ones. I'm behind that. I'm 100% behind that. That's cool. Interesting. I agree with all of your picks. I don't disagree with any of them. I think there's 20 figures there that I'd definitely buy if they were announced. Anything else big that you've noticed? I know there's a couple of bits that I think you've done a video, didn't you?
So this week there's been there were some other toy news that's not really stuff that I'm not sure if you collect, but obviously we've had some Beast Kingdom stuff announced this week. DuckTales and Donald Duck coming out, which I'm all for. I'm very excited for that.
You like your Disney? I know that you like your Disney stuff, don't you?
The Super 7 line, I am literally just waiting for with open arms, with the Robin Hood and the Sorcerer Mickey, and I can't wait.
And you did a video as well not too long ago. That obviously, if anyone's interested, then definitely go and check it out. But doing the size comparisons between the different brands, didn't you?
Yeah, because some people collect Toy Box and then say, "Oh, but this figure's not available yet." It's like, well, there's other lines available across the spectrum where you can make them. They do look and do go together very well. It's like you've got with Star Wars, you've got the Galaxy of Heroes figures and Toy Box, which are very similar styles. Yeah. And I prefer the actual Chewie that they released, the Chewbacca, for the Galaxy of Heroes, but I like the Han Solo Toy Box. But it makes more sense because the one that they released in Toy Box was too short. So the one that got released for Galaxy of Heroes was taller. So it looks perfect. Yeah.
It was, to be honest, it was a really good video. 100%. If anyone's interested, go and check it out, because it's not even a line I collect, but it's a line I'm aware of, and I just thought it's brilliant. I was like, wow, Super Sorrel has figured this out. This is like, check it out. So yeah, but anyway, so big news was, and I'll let you say it because obviously you kind of called it earlier, but
put the cookie down now.
Yeah,
Turbo Man. I need to find a Turbo Man.
Turbo Man. I love that film. That was such a good film. So we've got one coming then.
Yeah, Funko have been given the rights to make the line of Jingle All the Way action figures, Funkos, and Pops and plushes. So they're going to go all out this Christmas with it. I can tell you right now. This Christmas, we're going to see a lot of Turbo Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's been a long time coming. I think the film's iconic enough now. Obviously, back in the 90s, that film died. It flopped to death. It was released at the wrong time of year. It got released in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And it died a death, and everyone thought it was stupid. 20 years on, it's now the most iconic Christmas film of all time, and everyone shouts, "Put the cookie down" every Christmas.
That's it. Everyone's going to be running through the store, like through the streets, trying to get hold of these Turbo Man figures. So just living out the film. So
it seems that Funko have actually just released the entire the old Tiger talking 13-inch action figure of Turbo Man, and Funko have now got the rights to produce that figure, and are going to be given us one, but it's a Walmart exclusive, so we're not sure which retailer here in the UK it's going to fall with.
Okay.
With it being a 13-inch talking figure as well by Funko, I'm thinking Smiths more than anyone. Pop in a Box kind of do other things, but they predominantly look after Pops and Loungefly.
Yeah,
obviously Smiths started getting in those weird sort of Lanad toys, the big talking predators and aliens.
Yeah.
See, if anyone's going to pick up a weird line like this weird Turbo Man, I think it would be Smiths.
I think Smiths. I mean, to be honest with you, on that note, I mean, I'm very much for my independent retailers and stuff. They've done a phenomenal job, and there's too many to kind of try to shout out in this video alone. I think that maybe for another time we could talk about the UK retailers and stuff, but they've done an amazing job for us collectors in the previous years. Obviously now the UK market being so much bigger in regards to collecting, we are seeing, and I think Smiths, credit where credit's due, they're getting a lot of stuff. Even just with like Legends, the amount of Legends that they're getting now in comparison, and the Star Wars, the Black Series. So I think that's not a bad shout. I think Smiths could definitely be.
Definitely, since the last few years, I think more people have cashed in on the fact that our generation are rebuying toys. So they're cashing in on the adult collectors market. The 90s kids that have grown up, the 80s and 90s kids have now got money.
The He-Man, the Turtles,
it's all coming back around.
It is all there, isn't it? I'm still waiting for a really solid Thundercats line, like a really.
Oh, that's got to be coming.
There's various different brands that are kind of dropping the odd figure here and there, but a fully dedicated Thundercats line, similar to what we're having with the He-Man and the NECA Turtles and stuff.
Yeah, I'd love Mattel to take the reins with it and make an Origins style line, just like they're doing with He-Man Origins, Thundercat Origins. Produce the same figures we had as a kid, just re-release them again for us in modern.
I just need almost like a, how like Hasbro do the props and replicas and stuff like that. I just want a Sword of Omens like that I can play with now as an adult. It just that would just hang up on my wall, and
The last big piece of news this week was Storm Collectibles dropping that Street Sharks photo and saying, "Did somebody say Street Sharks?"
Yes.
That
Street Sharks. Yeah, Street Sharks for me, it was. I really enjoyed it. I think I was too old for the kind of target audience, but kind of young enough to kind of be. This is cool.
I'm the same. Yeah, I was kind of like. I was still playing with action figures back then, but I was getting older, so like I didn't watch the show, but I knew about the figures.
And
they were a few of them.
They were big, chunky figures, weren't they? They were really big. So I'm wondering what they're doing with that, where that's going to go.
I just love the fact that Vin Diesel was the face of that line back in the day before he was famous.
That advert is how he ever got a job doing anything after that. Like that was even now I can still watch it and laugh at certain like the way he's just bashing around, just doing all the voices. It's just brilliant.
If they don't make a Street Sharks film and use him in it, they're missing the trick.
Or even with this new line, if they don't get him to do an advert in some way, shape, or form. Like if I was him and I knew that they were reading, I'd have to just out of like. you know,
where it came from.
Exactly, like a throwback kind of like, I'll do this for free. Like, let me just do a quick 2-minute advert. So yeah, so Turbo Man, Street Sharks, you know, that's things to look out for. So, but I think that's about it for this week. I think that's not a bad roundup. Obviously, a little bit different than what we did last week, but still all good the same. Obviously, with your channels, you've got all your reviews and stuff coming out. You're doing the new live, aren't you, on Tuesday nights?
Yeah, I'm doing the new live on Tuesday nights, and my newest kind of videos that I'm putting out is the sort of toy life vlogs, I've been calling them, which is more of a vlog style format.
Yeah.
Which has been quite fun to do, something different.
Yeah, no, definitely. I caught the live last week. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. So obviously, you know, as before, I'll link up all your stuff underneath. So obviously, anybody that is interested, do go and follow. And obviously, if you're enjoying this show, do subscribe, because we're going to be back again next week doing the same thing. Hopefully with a few more figure reveals, because it was a bit quiet this week. But yeah, so yeah.
Hopefully we may have Dave Display's model behavior with us, all being well. He said he would. I'm going to hold him to it. I'm going to kill him if he doesn't.
Quite possibly. And obviously we're in talks with a couple of other people to get them in and out as various guests. So at some point we will have some other faces here as well. Throw in a third or fourth opinion in the mix as well. So, but anyway, have a great week. Until next week, Super Surround. Take care.
May the force be with you. Bye.